We want to remind the audience to please not talk out loud. Please do not applaud. You're just wasting time.
Aye, aye, Admiral Butthead.
So don't mess with me.
I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
I pray for the president all the time.
Ugh, back to the lock with you, Nessie.
I've now been in 57 states.
He's what we designate as the crummy moronic type.
We didn't crawl out from under no rocks. We didn't have no tails. We didn't come from monkeys, you atheistic pinko meathead.
Donald Trump no longer has the capacity to break my heart.
I'm not pissed. You've seen me pissed. This is way, way beyond pissed.
Now it's a party!
Don't try to be funny, will you, meathead?
Hey, brother, how you doing? Good morning, or good afternoon, good evening. That's where
welcome,
we are. Good
welcome,
evening, right?
To the Brotherhood of Liberty, right?
The Brotherhood of Liberty. That's right.
Sorry, we're late because of the technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties. Definitely a experience getting things going. Last minute stuff, but
are you gonna blame me?
No. This one was all crunch time. That's what this was. It was all crunch time. In fact, even right now, as we're talking, I am attempting to download material for this show. So,
James, that's all fine and good. But so far, I noticed that you're wearing a Magnum a shirt.
Yes.
So that means Magnum shirt and cowbell I did not get.
I can't help you.
I am now telling you we're starting a union over here. That's it. No cowbell and no shirt. No Magnum's PI shirt. Oh my God.
I am sorry for that, brother, but
we will be picketing next week outside. Watch out.
Okay. So for this week's show, we have a very interesting show. We're going to start off. I'm going to have to move the Atilis update just back a wee bit because that's one of the things that's downloading right now. And I don't know. Can you hear the rain in the background? I'm getting rain here now. But we're going to have the St. Louis update. We have a new video, Barak, the hypocrite, and then we're going to talk about cancel culture, and of course, we're going to round out the evening with our predictions for next week, but also our editor's corner and the VP's pick. Very important one this week, brother.
Right, Michael. We'll just call her Michael. Him, her.
So bad.
Michael.
So bad.
All right, so what are we going to start with?
We're going to start with St. Louis, if you don't mind.
All right. This is the update for the St. Louis couple, Mark and Pamela McCluskey. Now, it's been reported, I think erroneously, that this is somehow all over. It's not. Just to get some of the timeline down for this, just so that we know what the facts that we are dealing with. On July 20th, there was an amicus brief filed by the Attorney General from Missouri, Eric Schmidt. But that doesn't say anything. That was just a friend of the amicus brief is a friend of the court brief. It wasn't fully exercising his power as the AG, and he lays out a very beautiful, excellent argument. I'm going to try and I got it saved. I'll try and send it up to you so you can put it on the website, James. However, it doesn't do anything other than just pointing out the obvious facts that the McCluskeys were covered under Missouri state constitution and that they were covered under the Missouri Castle Doctrine statute. So that happened on the 20th. On the 29th, the McCluskey lawyer, Joel Schmidt, did a motion to disqualify the prosecution. Now that's a technical legal term to disqualify. You usually disqualify a judge, and basically what you're arguing is that there's a conflict that they can't successfully do their job as a judge, or in this case as a prosecutor. Now that type of law, though, you need something more than of course the person usually doing it is the judge deciding on whether he is conflicted or not. But it's a tough thing to do because it's a tough area of the law because you have to get something outside the quote four corners of the case. That's a term reference to contract law, where they said, some contracts you're bound to what's in the four corners of the document. In this case, they're saying you have to get outside the case. And there is some evidence here, as the Attorney General, the Circuit Attorney, this Kim Gardner, who brought the charges against the McCluskeys, did make campaign statements. She is fundraising off of it. So there is stuff to get out of the quote four corners of the case. And of course, bringing up Kim Gardner, she did file charges. They charged the McCluskey couple with a Class D felony, punishable by 4 years in jail. She recommends a diversionary program of community service, but that is a felony that would be on the records, and this would enable them from owning guns. Now, she said it is, and in her statement, she said it is illegal to weigh weapons in a threatening manner. Now, one of the things that the amicus brief pointed out very well, and it's kind of a shame that he didn't take it further and move to assume the case or no process himself, was that the Castle Doctrine, the statute that came up with by the Missouri legislature, specifically exempts cases like this, where citizens use their Second Amendment rights and defend themselves. Otherwise, it's an affirmative defense that you have to raise at trial. And you have to go through the whole trial process before you can raise it. The Castle Doctrine in Missouri was deliberately designed to prevent this misjustice of this type of misjustice. This is even worse than your typical misjustice, because there's a mob outside threatening them, and it wasn't. Now, it was just reported as of yesterday. The fake media is reporting it yesterday. It was a peaceful protest, and no, it wasn't. It was they'd actually broken down, and the gate was open. No, it wasn't. There's the pictures, you can see it all over the web. The gate was knocked down, torn apart. It was not a peaceful protest. It was a bunch of people threatening them while they were doing it. Now, so unless this circuit attorney has some other proof of them actually making threats, and I didn't see any of the threats anywhere. I just said show them, so telling them move it along, keep going to the protesters. Whereas what I did hear some yelling from the protesters, and of course, this is not in a vacuum. This happened after looting, after rioting, and after burning down major parts of all these cities. So the onus is on the idiot trespassers. You take your victims as they come, and there's a certain theme going in self-defense cases that once you've entered into the illegal conduct that you have, too bad for you. Well, the person defending themselves, they don't have to have police training. They don't have to go through levels of protection, of protective tasing to exercise their Second Amendment rights. They can do it any way they want, because they didn't bring the Molotov cocktails. They didn't bring the mob. They didn't go looking for the trouble. The people looking for the trouble was the mob and this prosecutor. Now, it's an interesting area of the law, of course. This disqualifying that their lawyers trying to do. Of course, now it might be moot depending on August 4. August 4 is the date that she's actually up for primary. She's being primaried by a miss. Her name is by another Democrat. But so whoever wins this is going to be presumably the circuit one, because it's one of these dopey utopias that's been under Democratic control for a long time. But she's being primaried, and that primary is to go off on August 4. One more important date: the actual hearing was scheduled for August 31st. The problem is now that their lawyers filed this qualification motion, that might put it off. That might bring it back. It's before Judge Michael Colonna, which is a good name. It's almost Columbus, but might be the Spanish version of Columbus. So hopefully they'll get a good result there. But I'm upset that the Attorney General did not move to assume the case or to supersede the district attorney, because as he lays out in his wonderful brief, he is the protector of the rights of the Constitution. The Attorney General in a state is the presumed protector of those rights, and he could, where he saw it, assume the case, take it from her, and then null pros the entire thing, meaning they're not going to pursue it. Or he could do something which is really needed. And see, that this is a part of the problem we don't do. Our side stands up, makes, gets maybe a little bit of airplay, and then that's it. This person needs to be prosecuted. This Kim Gardner needs to be prosecuted. I'll take you back to a famous case called the Duke rape case. In that, and this is a perfect example of it. The prosecutor in that case, if you remember actually the facts in that case, an African-American woman alleged that she was raped by a bunch of these college frat guys at Duke, the Duke lacrosse team. Turned out she was a stripper hired by some people at Duke, and that the people she was accusing, the prosecutor had actual proof, because the lawyers were very proactive. They sent immediately the proof that I think at least a couple of kids were across town at this time, and they had the ATM receipt and the picture from the ATM saying there's no way they could have done it. And that prosecutor, that scumbag Nifong, for political purposes, in a similar situation like this, running for office, prosecuted those kids. And that guy went to, I think he did community service at least. He lost his law license. He was prosecuted himself. That's the kind of pushback you need to do to these politicians, to these Democrats, to these creep Democrats who want to misuse the law, because we all have to be equal in front of the law. And what they're doing is they're perverting the law in this way, using it for their political gain like this, to persecute these McCloskeys. They're doing it for a couple reasons. Number one, to tell the mob to wave a red flag to the mob. Number two, to tell the mob they got their back. And then number three, as a warning to all of us out there who dare exercise our Second Amendment rights, who dare stand up to the mob, I will get you as the prosecutor. She needs to go to jail. She wants to send them to a diversionary program. She wants to hit them with a felony where potentially they could go to jail for 4 years. She needs to go to jail for twice that as a disincentive, because if it's the same thing, then it's not disincentive. She needs a disincentive, a public policy and the governor. Listen, you say you're a conservative, stand up, do the right thing. There can't be any more case. I'll guarantee you, this Gardner person does not have a quote victim, and she filed a warrant and she filed a criminal case without a victim. Or if she did, she saw what the evidence was and the basis of it, and there is zero evidence of them in a threatening manner doing anything. Number one, they didn't shoot anybody. They could have shot people. Number two, it was a mob that broken down their property. It was a trespassing on their mob, and they were exercising fully within their rights set up by both the state constitution and the federal constitution, of course, the Second Amendment, the state constitution, and I actually have the Missouri State Constitution's Article 123. It's their right to bear arms, and the Council Doctrine, which means that this particular behavior that they are exempt. They don't have to go through a trial. They don't have to put up an affirmative defense. It's exempt now. And the fact that she is falling over that makes her subject. I mean, yeah, they can sue her, and I hope they do. I hope they sue her for a boatload of money. But in the end, what this Gardner person needs to do is to go to jail for the misuse of the state prosecutorial machine to go after two citizens who were just exercising their fundamental right to ordered liberty to defend their property against the mob, nothing less than a mob. And so that's the current update. It's still up in the air unless the state prosecutor, the AG, unless the AG comes in and says, that's it, I am exercising it, or files against them. Now, we could probably do a third update. There's another avenue which I wish the lawyers would do, the criminal prosecution. They can file a private criminal complaint against, but we'll see how that goes in the future. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. But that's the update on the McCloskeys. So it's still not over. Keep your eyes and ears open, sports fans. It's still not over. The McCloskeys are literally in jeopardy of a felony for exercising their right to a Second Amendment
and protecting their property. That's what that that brandishing of the weapon was meant to protect their property. That's what its purpose was, and that's what they successfully did. I mean, the proof is in the fact that the potential looters and people who were the peaceful protesters who were ripping down fences and breaking in fences, those peaceful protesters, they didn't bother their home at all. They didn't bother their property. They just threatened them with their presence. So we'll have to come back to that at some point, brother. Well, right now we have the update from Atilis Jim. I was able to get it, so we'll change that. I'm going to play a video from just the background on Atilis Jim. Thursday, I was at the Freedom Rally down in Trenton, and at the State House, and there was one of the people speaking was Ian Andrew, who's one of the owners of Atilis Gym. Now, just to give a background on what these guys do, and I can't even remember all the things that they've done as far as to keep their members safe. But one of the things I do think is key is they have a very large facility, very open air facility. It's a tall facility. They also have a ultraviolet HEPA filter system where they not only is it filtering out the air, but it's also getting it with the ultraviolets, as well as they do health checks when people walk in the door. They check their temperature. They ask them where they've been, if they've been exposed to COVID. The list goes on the things that these guys are doing in order to keep their customers safe and their employees safe. These list of things that they've done, they're really a model for what should be done across the country for these gyms. And Atilis Gym is in Belmar, for those of you who aren't aware. These guys have gone to every extent possible and beyond what you would see in even the supermarkets that we go to, the Walmarts, the big box stores. They go beyond the big box stores. They go. I think they clean. They have cleaning every. They have every person gets an individual rag, an individual chemical spray bottle that's theirs for their duration of their stay there. Then they also, I think it's like every couple hours or every hour, they do some kind of cleaning. I'm not sure exactly how often it is, but I know it's often where they have somebody come in also to do another special. These guys have gone above and beyond, and the governor has made it his mission to ruin these gentlemen, to ruin Frank Trumbull and Ian Andrew, to ruin who they are, what they've done, and why? Because he's a petty tyrant. Anyway, Ian spoke at Thursday's event. These guys were arrested on Monday, at 5 o'clock in the morning. They were arrested on Monday of last week, and they had taken the doors off because the governor kept on putting locks on it. So they took the doors off, and they slept there. They stayed there. These guys were arrested Monday morning. The plywood barrier was put up, blocking it. And Ian said on Thursday, come by Saturday morning. We will be opening up Atilis Gym again, which he did. And I have the video here, brother. So if you would, here we go.
So what really, I think, upsets me the most is that it has to come to this. Yeah. Yes. Is that Frank and I and other small businesses all around the country, New Jersey, New York, doesn't matter, that it has to come to this. It has to be traumatic. We have to make a statement. We have to get you guys up out of bed on a Saturday morning to come and help us, because our leadership is absent and they don't give a shit. They don't care. And he'll go as far as he needs to, and he's made this personal now. Yes. And now it comes to this. We gotta wake up early on a Saturday morning and kick our own doors in. Just to be in business, just to feed our families, just to do what is guaranteed
to fight for our rights
in the Constitution.
We're fighting for free country because we're getting communism now.
That makes me worried about the future, and I think that everybody really should be. Because
Amen.
When he knocks us off, he's going to come for somebody else next.
Absolutely.
It's going to be indoor dining and restaurants. It's going to be the gym industry. And then once they're eradicated, the next set of lockdowns will come. We're already seeing it around the country. We're seeing it in California. We're seeing it in back after the hair salons and all these other places. They're coming back. They're going to do it again.
When we get inside, everybody's gonna ask.
All right, looks like we're kicking the door in.
And on that note, guys, I'm going to sign off and enjoy being here and helping them and supporting them. I'll come back later with more live video.
So that was compliments of Mama Red. She was down there Saturday morning. I couldn't go to that, but they recorded them breaking into their own establishment, their property, and getting the place back open. By the way, they're probably going to be arrested tomorrow morning. It's Sunday night. I'm sure Murphy's extremely unhappy about these guys doing it again, because he's commented not directly about them, but he's made some obnoxious, tyrannical statements about them, meaning he said something about them, people going too far, and something's going to happen because of it. This guy, Murphy, he thinks he's helping people, but he's really not. There's a big movement, even right now, that to keep the schools closed and to have them go virtual over the next coming months when school starts up in September. I got to tell you, virtual is not the answer that you think. Especially, I mean, depending on the parental supervision is depending on how much the education is going to be happening for the child. So you're locking the parents into being there and not being able to go out and earn a living. For many of them who are living on, many of the parents that I know, they don't have the option of having a big fat bank account to lean back on like Murphy does. They don't have the options to hold these extra do extra things around the house. They can't get these extra things. They can't put time aside to work with their kids so much because they're too busy trying to earn a living. And if they got to be forced to stay home, they're going to be suffering just like Ian was describing. They're not going to be able to feed their kids. They're going to have trouble paying the bills, no matter how much money they think can come from Congress. The money tree does not exist, and we seem to live in a country where they think it's endless to continue to take out loans. And Murphy just took out a $10 billion loan, up to $10 billion. He has the option to take in this latest round. For what?
Where they pay back $40 billion?
Yeah, well, who's going to pay that back? It's going to be your kids or grandkids.
Wasn't that before the COVID? That was for
No. This was most recently, John. This is most recently. He now has. I mean, not only are we getting a surcharge on our property taxes in New Jersey, but there's a lot more. I mean, you don't live in New Jersey, but you're having a similar situation going on in Pennsylvania. This is not. I mean, I know COVID's deadly. Not suggesting that it's not. There's a lot of people who have died from it, but we've had for 4 months. We've had. People in the supermarkets, people in the stores, people in the big box stores, and these parents and these kids. So the parents have gone into these stores and then going back to their kids. They've had if it's as dangerous as we're saying, what is the outcome to all these essential workers in the field? And I'm not talking about the healthcare workers who I haven't heard them getting sick. I'm sure they have. But I'm sure just, what's the damage being done to them? I mean, if it's so deadly, why are we allowing these stores to be open at all? I mean, why are we sending people out to go get food? I mean, I get where's it going to end? This governor has decided that he's the dictator, and he's not going to back down. These poor guys have their livelihoods on the line. Oh, I forgot the most recent. This Tuesday. They're going to take their merchant license away. So the governor has now he's weaponized the police again. He's weaponized the health department against him. He's weaponizing the government of Belmar against him because they're going to strip their merchant license away from him, so they can't even have a business in Belmar. This is what we're this is a tyranny. This is the type of tyranny that you read about happening in places where there isn't representative government. And my point has always been, if the governor is really, he's working as an oligarchy right now. It's him and his closest advisors are making decisions behind closed doors. without any. And who cares that he's having these briefings every day? That's not the same. I'm not able to ask him questions, and I'm not able to get information from him. He's blocked information from our newspapers, and he's kept information from them to the point where they've taken him to court. And all I'm saying is, if he is really sincere about this being something necessary, you've had 4 months, and you and I have talked about this. 4 months. Get the people in the Assembly and the State Senate to vote on it. Make your executive orders legitimate instead of from a king. Because right now he is not acting as somebody who's a representative of us. He's acting as somebody who's dictating to us. It goes back to are we being represented or not? And quite frankly, we're not being represented, because the people who should be voting on his executive orders, who should be voting on what's going on with this restriction or that restriction, the mask, the no mask, that can be debated in the open assemblies, and that can be discussed in the open assemblies, and then our legislature can make a decision, and they'll be on the record for making that decision. But right now, he's flying low cover for them by being an oligarch, and I don't appreciate that, and that's one of the reasons why people are fighting it. Sure, we don't want the restrictions. Sure, we don't want to be told what to do, and there's a big, strong element of us, including me, that don't want to see that. But there's also just the legitimacy of government that he's failing to enact. It's just a lack of legitimacy that he's showing. And quite frankly, we should be ignoring his executive orders, and we're not. Why aren't we ignoring them? Because we're afraid, just like these guys. We're seeing what happened to these guys. He's using the tyranny, the power of the government against us, something that we were told would never happen, something that we were promised would never happen. This is what's going on. He's using government power against individual citizens. He's locking them up. He's locking them up and getting them with records and ruining their lives and their future. Why? Because they're standing up to him. John, that's not that. I mean, the founding fathers would be disgusted by this behavior, and I know I'm disgusted by it. So,
would they be burning down a court? Would they be burning down a courthouse?
Yeah, I mean, come on, let's be seriously. These guys haven't done anything. They're not doing damage to the public, and they're not, putting out graffiti and ruining people's businesses. That's what the governor's doing.
He's a segue so that you could,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a little fired up about it. I mean,
are you going to do? What's it's at 9:50 now. What's our next segment?
Our next segment. I don't know, John. That's up to you to tell me. What's our next segment? I don't. We're going into. I gotta show the.
You worked real hard on it.
Yeah, let me show you the first one. So real brief recap. We have Barack Obama spoke at Representative John Lewis's funeral, and we have some segments from that. And also my brother, actually, I give a hat tip to John on this one because he reminded me of the Seinfeld episode. So we're going to play that first, brother. So the discussion that we're going to hear the ex-President Obama speak about is about the mail-in ballots and about how the mail-in ballots are so important in this time of COVID. Please note the audience that he's talking to, the closely packed audience, and then the segue from Jerry Seinfeld.
Run up to an election that's going to be dependent on mail-in ballots so people don't get sick.
Too many people got their mail. Close to 80%. Nobody from the post office has ever cracked the 50% barrier. It's like the 3-minute mile.
There you go, brother. It is very funny. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah. So is there really, they're doing it, of course, because I live in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is destroyed, and it's a blue state because of the theft in Philadelphia of our votes. So there are districts, I think there's 55 districts in Philadelphia that continually have 100% of voting, and it's 100% for Democrat. Now, this is ridiculous. You can't get 100% of anybody to do anything. You can't even get 100% of people that die. Look at Jesus, right? Jesus came back from the dead. Lazarus and the little girl, right? And somebody else. He walking by on a funeral. He woke somebody else up. You can't even get you can't get people to die 100%. So the idea that there are 55 districts in Philadelphia, I think 77 districts in Chicago, where 100% of the people vote and they vote on 100% for the Democrats, it's absurd. However, so the Democrat is always the Democrat Party is always about stealing the election, and so Obama comes out and he knows he wants to defend the stealing of the election, but he's relying on the wrong people to do it.
Well, John, I think there's
government workers.
Yeah, of course, with Newman there.
Recap it. Tell us what happened in that. Do you remember that episode?
Well, it was where Newman was trying to get a promotion, and so
Jerry always wanted to be a mailman, always wanted to deliver it, and so he goes about delivering the mail with happy as can be, singing a song while he's doing it.
Yes, and he did such a wonderful job that the guy who was going to promote him said he couldn't have been him because no one's ever cracked 50%. There was 80%. Yeah, so he didn't get the job because Jerry did so well. But
so the Dems want to rely on this method of stealing the election. Maybe it's providence of God that they are so stupid as usual that they can't even hijack an election the right way.
What they're going to do is they're going to harvest votes. They're going to harvest votes, meaning they're going to get the printer, make up a whole bunch of votes, and then they're going to go on and find out where everyone's supposed to live, and then they're going to fake a bunch of signatures, and that they're going to mail that stuff in. It is child's play for this to go on. I know.
Well, wait a minute, but that's the problem because then only 20% we're going to get there.
Well, but John, we're going to have what I got to tell you, the primary, it took almost 3 weeks for that to be certified. You're going to have that same 3 weeks or more because there's going to be legal challenges like we're going to see 2,000 in Florida. We're going to see it in Florida. We're going to see it in Wisconsin. We're going to see it in Michigan. We're going to see it in Pennsylvania. This is, and probably a couple other states if they decide to go mail-in and balloting.
That's only if it's close enough to steal. If it's a landslide, then we might not.
Well, John, they're still going to fight it. They're going to still find these votes. They're going to claim that it's illegitimate. This is what they do. They're going to say that they didn't have enough votes or they didn't have enough time to get the votes in, and they're going to find a few million within a few weeks of the election, and they're going to try to overturn it.
It's always 5,000. It's always 5,000 in the back of somebody's trunk.
Right.
Oh, look, here goes a box
Just
full.
another example of that nonsense. We're not going to see this change any different, and that's why. And I want to point out that when President Trump said that we should delay it, he wasn't saying he was going to delay it. And you see a lot of the left come out and say, "Oh, the president thinks he's going to the election." No, he didn't say it. If you read the tweet, if they bother to read the tweet, he said they should delay it. He didn't say he was going to delay it. He is not a dumb man. He knows that Congress is the only group of people that can change when the date is. And it has been actually changed. So, you know as well as I do, that it used to be in March, was when the president used to be, not the election, but he would take the oath of office. It was March. They changed that. They didn't change. The president didn't decide to change that. The Congress decided to change it to January 20th. The idea that we have that they can want to attack this guy no matter what, anywhere they can, anyhow they can, because he's President Trump, because the Orange Man.
I'm not worried, James, because recently there's been a case, a fraud case, where it actually disclosed how they've been doing it, and I've for years been wondering how they do it, because we watch the polls, we go in, we see the little elderly people in their 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s, and we try and figure out how they've done it. Well, there was the recent case in Philadelphia where basically the guy admitted to what he would do is he would go in when I guess his people were watching the door, and he would just pull the lever as many times possible for the Democrats And so that's how they would get the 100% voting. So even with the mail-in balloting, I think what we're getting, I don't know how much more they can cheat or steal an election. They
John,
might think they
harvest
can.
them. They can harvest them. In other words, they can go out and pick them
But
up.
you're missing the point. The missing point is they're already getting 100% in these districts where they steal the votes already. So how much more can they really steal?
Because John, they'll come up here to Sussex County, and all of a sudden there'll be 50,000 votes for Biden. I mean, that's what they'll do. That's the way they do it. They're gonna go to places that are red, and they're gonna turn them blue. That's what they plan on doing. That's what these guys are. This is it
won't matter in New Jersey.
The art of stealing an election, but you get my point. They'll do it in Pennsylvania, in the heart of Pennsylvania. They'll do it where it's supposed to be red. They'll go there, and they're going to turn it blue. And we'll have 1,000 more votes than the number of people who live there eligible to vote. But that's what they do. They'll throw. So the more confusion that they sow, John, the more likely that they're going to knock on Trump, try to steal the election from him. That's the goal. That's what the goal's been since he got in back in 2016, is to cause as much confusion and turmoil as possible. I promise you this, brother, we are not going to forget this. The real Republicans, the people who are supported President Trump, those we supporters of President Trump, are not going to forget the way the Democrats have what they've done to our country and to President Trump. We're not going to forget it. So when it comes to the next election, we're going to really be fighting back on this.
Now, are you ready to go to the next one?
I'm ready. I'm ready to go to hypocrite Barak. You ready?
Yep.
Can you hear it?
Barely.
Our police officers put their lives on the line for us every single day. They've got a tough job to do to maintain public safety and hold accountable those who break the law. As they do their jobs in the coming days, they need to work with the community, not against the community, to distinguish the handful of people who may use the grand jury's decision as an excuse for violence, distinguish them from the vast majority who just want.
Hey, you see Fredo, brother?
Oh, way, wow.
There's Fredo. And Don Lemon, the dumbest man on television, was just there a few minutes ago.
Their voices heard around legitimate issues in terms of how communities and law enforcement interact.
Is the act of the grand jury deciding not to indict Officer Wilson?
That's one police cruiser that is fully engulfed right now. And then if you just turn to your right, our photographer Snikey Moss is going to give you the other cruiser. That one is almost finished burning.
It was mayhem. We saw these buildings catch on fire. This was a beauty supply store, and we watched it just burn to the ground.
The auto zone is on fire. This is the third building within 2 blocks, and it is, destroyed. The building is basically collapsed. You can hear the explosions going on inside there from whatever
we can witness
inside, whether it's
our federal government sending agents to use tear gas and batons against peaceful demonstrators.
You're seeing the title maps just up the street, right across, and that's another fire. And you're hearing the explosions from inside.
This is tragic because nobody needs good policing more than poor communities with higher crime rates.
Chaos, lots of areas are calm, people are inside, and that is really what we have been witnessing.
Not tear gas this time, just smoke.
And there are good people on all sides of this debate, as well as in both Republican and Democratic parties.
New York Grill, another business here. They've broken into.
Right now, I'm standing outside the McDonald's, and people are throwing stuff at me right now. People are throwing stuff at me right now. It's that kind of scene out here right now.
Police still using tear gas, still moving through the area. It's heartbreaking. The Brown family the governor, the president, all speaking about nonviolence and about peace.
Run up to an election that's going to be dependent on mail-in ballots so people don't get sick. And if all this takes eliminating the filibuster, another Jim Crow relic, in order to secure the God-given rights of every American, then that's what we should do.
So, brother, I want to stop it right there. Leave that up on the screen. There's a couple things in that. The whole point of the video, that was Obama's America, and he's talking about protesters and protesters getting, the peaceful protesters that we see in Portland and around the country. What happened in Ferguson isn't as bad as what's happening right now. And they were using tear gas. He didn't tell them to stop. I mean, it may have been the local authorities making that decision, but he's president. He could have told them to stop. Just like President Trump is trying to get law and order back in these cities here. This guy could have gone there and told them to stop. He has that power. He could have, and he was deeply involved in Ferguson at that point already. So just a couple of points I want to make about the looting, the violence, the destruction going on in Ferguson back in 2014. It's perfectly okay for President Obama's America to be going after these looters and everything, and for him to call them out. But it's not okay for President Trump to do the same to the very violent, the very destructive, and very angry and Antifa riots that are going on right now in Portland and other cities. So I want to point that out. But I also want to point out even more hypocritical, because the name of this video, which will be out tomorrow, is the hypocrite Barak the hypocrite, because right here he's talking about the filibuster rule, and as well as I know, brother, I'm sure that the filibuster is really something that's been used mostly as a tool by the Democrats to hold up civil rights bills and such. Right here we see the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and 1957, both of them held up by Democrats who were filibustering to try and shut it down. And the only reason they were able to stop was because Republicans came to the aid and were able to be the majority to break the filibusters. But some of these were going on for days, John. And this isn't the only time. There's other instances where the filibuster has been used. But the funny thing is, if you look up where the filibuster has been used, you can see that there's not one single incident of a Republican trying to filibuster for any type of civil rights action, except for one guy who was a Southern. I think he was some Southern. I can't remember his name. I think it might have been. I don't remember. If I said his name, it would be wrong. One time. Whereas there have been repeatedly, the Democrats have been doing it. Groups of Democrats, not one or two. Groups of Democrats working together, even including John, some of the best friends of Joe Biden. All right, Byrd and Strom Thurmond. These guys were like leaders of the Democratic Party who were also pushing to fight this civil rights.
Sheetsberg, the Grand Klugel of the KKK, who was in the Senate, and he was a Democrat.
Right. So I do have one more video, brother. The memes, the weekly memes that I've been putting together.
But wait, let me say, Wanda Sykes had the greatest line about Obama. How you going to complain about the man when you is the man?
Yeah.
And why nothing happened in 8 years?
Wanda Sykes of all people.
Right.
You quoting her. Okay.
Right. Well, she was right. That's why nothing happened in 8 years.
That's right. You're right. 100%. So, all right. So here's the meme video for this week. All right, there you go, brother. That was me. I should have
I like that.
warned. I'm sorry. I apologize. I should have put out a warning before that there would be some scary pictures, especially of Hillary with that one look that she had with the looking over her shoulder. It's definitely scary. Definitely scary. So
I was
anyway,
triggered.
it was a trigger moment. So I hope no one got triggered by that. That's all the videos we have for tonight, brother. We do have left to cover for our topics. I think we're still
Portland, go Gomert, history slot number 2, and
we only
of
got
course our
6
pick.
minutes left. We only got 6 minutes left. Let me play the Gomert. Let me play Gomert if I can.
All right, we're doing go Gomert then.
Yeah, right. I mean that's
All right. All right, we'll do go.
You sure? I mean, I don't
Yes.
want to.
No. We have to. It's well overdue.
Yes, I agree.
Vote with the purpose of eliminating 4 specific statues or busts from the United States Capitol, along with all others that include individuals who, quote, served as an officer or voluntarily with the Confederate States of America or the military forces or government of a state while the state was in.
Just a little. I mean, we didn't tell everybody what this is, brother. This is Gomert talking about canceling the cancel culture and turning the tables on the Democratic Party for their drive to break us apart as a country and their cancel culture model. So this is Gomert speaking, Representative Gomert.
Rebellion against the United States, unquote, yet failed to address the most ever-present historical stigma of the United States Capitol. That is the source that so fervently supported, condoned, and fought for slavery that was left untouched, but without whom the evil of slavery could never have continued as it did, to such extreme that it is necessary to address here in order for the U.S. House of Representatives to avoid degradation of historical fact and blatant hypocrisy for generations to come. Whereas the Democratic Party platform of 1840, 1844, 1848, 1852, and 1856 states, quote, that Congress has no power under the Constitution to interfere with or control the domestic institutions of the several states, and that such states are the sole and proper judges of everything appertaining to their own affairs, not prohibited by the Constitution, that all efforts of the abolitionists or others made to induce Congress to interfere with questions of slavery are calculated to lead to the most alarming and dangerous consequences, and that all such efforts have an inevitable tendency to diminish the happiness of the people and endanger the stability and permanency of the Union, and ought not to be countenanced by any friend of our political institutions, unquote.
So, brother, he goes on for another 9 minutes.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you didn't get the best parts of the.
Listen, I
know you were busy. Basically, Nancy Pelosi wanted 11 statues removed from the Capitol.
Which she mentioned. You mentioned them.
She mentioned, right. She instructs that all artwork in the Capitol complex that depicts persons with ties to white supremacy shall be banished. See, she wants to use that line, white supremacist, because it's the lie, the calculated deception of the left. There's the Republicans who did the Civil War. It's the Republicans who are the racists. That's a lie, as we all know. It's the Democratic Party. It's the party of the Confederacy, the KKK, the Jim Crow laws, and of course, Margaret Sanger and abortion and the current genocide against Black people. And it's so. But he goes on, and what he goes is, as outlined in his resolution, a great portion of the history of the Democratic Party is filled with racism and hatred. Since people are demanding we rid ourselves of the entities, symbols, and reminders of the repugnant aspects of our past, then the time has come for Democrats to acknowledge their party's loathsome and bigoted past and consider changing their party name to something that isn't so blatantly and offensively tied to slavery, Jim Crow, discrimination, and the Ku Klux Klan. So he wants the Democrats to cancel themselves, which is what we decided. It was time for us to start doing it's time for to cancel the cancel culture. Now, I know it's almost like far-fetched in the sense that, remember, the Me Too movement. Me Too movement was a big thing until, of course, Tara Reid comes forward and says, "Hey, this guy named Joe Biden penetrated me digitally, and makes a credible complaint against the Democrat president for elected person for the president." So once that happened, that's the end of the Me Too movement. So there's a limit to what the Democrats are going to be able to hold accountable. But this all goes back to good old Saul Alinsky, who said you have to hold people. What we need to do to subvert the American people is to hold them accountable to their ideals, because there's no way you can live up to those ideals, right? Well, let's hold the Democratic Party accountable to their ideals. Let's cancel the cancel culture. Let's cancel the cancelers. And this is one of the first acts of genuine pushback, of genuine Republican Republicans actually standing up to do something that we can see. So when Frodo Baggins comes around and says to Nancy Pelosi, "Hey, you forgot some white supremacists that need to be canceled." Hey, that deserves a shout out from the Ballistic Patriot. Good job, go Gomert. And that's what we need more of. We need more of canceling the cancel culture. Let's pull good old Saul Alinsky's, in his book To Worship the Devil that he uses his whack job. Let's pull out a playbook page from his playbook, and let's make them eat their own Shiite. Let's make them eat their own Shiite. And let's cancel the cancel culture. Yeah, we've said this from the very beginning, the last giant institute from slavery, the last institute, the last systemic institution that's still dedicated to destroying the black race through abortion is the Democratic Party, which they got into the business of back in the days of slavery, and they're still in the business of today with Margaret Sanger. So let's cancel the cancelers, and maybe then we can go back to a peaceful America.
I agree. The idea, the concept here is simple. If the Democrats want to start canceling, we need to push back against them. Gomert does a great job of pushing back against them. Like,
do you got your names? The new names for the Democrat Party?
Let's hear them.
Okay. Haters are us.
Wait, just to be clear, these are names that Ballistic Patriot is putting forward so that we no longer know that the Democrats are part of the Democratic Party. So they don't have to go around identifying themselves as Democrats, that hateful group of people, that party that has been, part of segregation. That was the guys who came up with Jim Crow, who pushed and stood for slavery. This party that known as the Democratic Party, we're going to change the name and give them good names that will more fit with their modern approach to America. Go ahead, brother. Start over for me.
Okay. How about this? Full of Shiites-ocrats. The Adolf O. Cortez Club.
Okay.
The hypocrite-ocrats. That's too hard, though. The Democrats. That's just too obvious. The Soviet Socialist Republic. And then the Democrats, right? But my actual favorite, this is what I think that they should go with. The National Socialist Party of Workers. I think that's what they should go with.
Wait, your first one was the I Hate America Club, right?
Right. The I Hate America Club, right.
Yeah.
So we should take any other.
To be clear, John, we give away rights to the Democratic Party. We do not expect to be compensated for that.
Just trying to help a brother out, right?
Just trying to help you out and make sure that you are finally able to accept what you've done, change your name, and come up with something that really
move on.
Suits who they are. What?
Turn a page. Move on.
It's time for them to move on. It's time for them to turn a page.
All
right. So, all right, brother. So now that we've got that out of the way, the only thing left is the editor's corner.
Yes. And this is for our VP pick, our potential VP pick.
And Michael. We have Michael.
Dad, do you have the video? Do you have a video ready for this?
I do not have a video. I could not get
gosh.
the video, so I apologize.
All right.
I mean, if you want to hold up and do it next week, you can.
Why? We over the time?
Well, I mean, we are at well over the time.
Well, then it's up to you. Make the call.
You're the editor, brother.
All right. Then what time? We're only a few minutes over. If you want me to do it, I'll do it.
Well, it's not prepared enough, so I think we
we'll
should
wait. We'll wait off.
We wait for
Gomert. Gomert. We got to get that. We had to get that in because that was hold up. So we got go in. And so I guess we'll just put it off till next week. Hopefully he won't just decide it by then.
And if he does, I think we can do a retrospect on our choices here. So
we'll leave it with that hint that even though he wants a African American female, her name is Michael. See if our listeners can figure out who we're talking about.
All right.
All
right. So we're gonna go out, brother. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
God bless everybody.
We want to remind the audience to please not talk out loud. Please do not applaud. You're just wasting time.
Aye, aye, Admiral Butthead.
So don't mess with me.
I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
I pray for the president all the time.
Ugh, back to the lock with you, Nessie.
I've now been in 57 states.
He's what we designate as the crummy moronic
We
type.
didn't crawl out from under no rocks. We didn't have no tails. We didn't come from monkeys, you atheistic pinko meathead.
Donald Trump no longer has the capacity to break my heart.
I'm not pissed. You've seen me pissed. This is way, way beyond pissed.
Now it's a party! Don't try to be funny, will you, meathead?